Welcome back to Lyre, everyone. We were just marveling at our save screen and our bizarre consistency of being here March 25th, April 25th, May 25th. We're now here on June 23rd, a massive contradiction of our apparent schedule.
We're nothing if not consistent.
Oh, I saved on a black screen.
Ooh, spooky.
Spooky. After a few minutes, I managed to get myself relatively clean. The sponge actually does a good job of getting most of the dirt and everything else off my body. It's not a perfect bath, but it actually feels really good, aside from the shivers running up and down my skin. Also, once all the water is used up, I turned the bucket over and stood on top so I could wash my feet. However, I should have placed it closer to the bed with the clothes. Lyle!
Yeah.
He appears in the doorway, his eyes darting up to mine after glancing down at my exposed genitals. Can you hand me those clothes on the bed? I'm just imagining the visual of drippy, naked Richter standing on top of an upside-down bucket. Lyle!
Bothering to cover himself.
I don't want to get my feet dirty walking over there.
Honey.
Without saying anything, he quickly walks over to the stone slab and hands me the cloth for my underwear. While he does this, it looks like he's avoiding looking at my body. I take the underwear and start tying it around my waist. You know, you don't have to avert your gaze. Am I really that grubby looking?
No, it's not that you're grubby. I'm just trying to be polite. I love looking at your body.
He stops halfway through his statement, and we both stand there in silence for a moment. I know you do. I fastened the underwear around myself and turns away, and he turns away in his flustered state. Perfect time for a quickie. His eyes swollen shut, you're about to be beheaded. Last chance. He eventually does look back at me, and I see him softly smile. Do they behead in this setting? Is that their motive?
Well, guy with
the guy has a big axe. Yeah, I was gonna say, the guy shows up early with a big axe.
Maybe it's his
a metaphor, actually.
It's his guide axe.
Is our circumcision axe.
No. I got the undergarments fastened around my waist neatly, but when I look up at him, he keeps his eyes trained at my torso. After a second, his gaze rises back up to mine.
Mm-hmm.
Pants? I point to the simple pair of pants sitting on the bed.
Sorry.
You really should have planned ahead the situation. You just don't want to have to go one leg at a time trying to put pants on while balancing
on a bucket, yeah.
Really, if you have the continuity of visualizing it the whole time, it really makes the scene funny. He grabs the pair of trousers and hands them to me. I slip into them pretty fast, and then he hands me the shirt. How fast? I put that on pretty quickly, too. The sleeves are short, and it feels a bit tight. Lyle tosses me a pair of socks, and I slip them onto my feet, leaning against him for support. I step off the bucket and into the pair of shoes. Yeah, I feel like it was weird to describe these as swift, quick actions when the scene is defined by its awkward and precarity.
Mm-hmm.
They don't fit me too well. A bit too big, actually. I can walk in them, though, and even so, I don't think I'll be doing too much walking anyways.
What about your jacket?
I look behind him at the jacket that he's nodding towards. It's the one I wore that night, damp and hanging from the bars of the cell door. Will the throne room be cold?
Not really.
I should be fine then. Richter, you know about the air conditioning in this place. I walk past him, patting him on the back in a sarcastic manner. Stopping in the doorway, I turn around to look at him. He's standing in the center of the cell, helmet in one hand and shackles in the other. I looked down at them and realized that for a moment I had forgotten about everything. Only for a moment. He locks eyes with me and then looks around the cell once more. Lyle. He stares at the bed, the cold slab of stone, with one corner draped in a ratty blanket and the other corner draped with my wet clothes from earlier. After a few seconds, he walks up to me and holds out the shackles.
I hate to do this, but...
It's okay, just do it. He pauses for a moment before nervously clasping them around my wrists. They clink slightly as his paws lock them in place.
I'm going to make whoever killed Raynar pay for what they've done.
You mean we, right? He looks into my eyes, a sad smile gracing his lips.
Of course.
He takes my hands in his paws and rubs his thumbs over my palms. For some reason, I can tell that he wants to cry. It's just the feeling I get from his paws. Lyle? He squeezes my hand slightly and looks up.
Yes?
If things go well, there's something I'd like to talk with you about.
Of course.
Even if everything goes horribly, and I get sentenced to life in the dungeons, or worse, I want you to visit me here, so I can talk with you. I don't think they do life in the dungeons. Promise me you will. Without hesitation, he closes his hands together in between his paws and clasps them tightly. The chains linking my arms together rattle as he does this.
I promise. Are we saying, is he telling him to like just come and visit him so he can say one thing in particular, or like visit him in general while he's down there?
I think he's basically saying that he wants to see him before he dies, basically.
Okay.
Like, he probably has a conversation he wants to have.
It's mostly just that Atreus was the one stopping it. And, you know, it's not that Lyle wasn't willingly coming down here. It's just like Lyle couldn't come down here.
Yeah. It's like, also I think if he's sentenced to execution or something, I'm pretty sure Lyle's would want to try to come down here, and it doesn't need prodding for that necessarily. It's either if he didn't make it, it's impossible.
I am curious, like, if he loses the trial, they just do the execution right then and there, or do they set like a date? I'm very curious to see this judicial system.
They just immediately flee to sequel name. Once again, the bells outside begin to ring. Lyle leads me to the doorway and turns around.
You go on ahead while I lock the cell door.
Okay. I hesitantly take a couple of steps forward before walking down the long tunnel. As I walk, the feeling of comfort I had while with Lyle starts to fade away. Then I remember why I'm here and what's going to happen. He keeps remembering. Amazingly, being around Lyle made the emotional part of my brain forget all about it. Now he keeps remembering that he forgot. But now it comes crashing down upon me like a roof collapsing. My heart feels like it fell from my chest and hit the floor. I try to pick myself up mentally and continue to walk forward. That's all I can really do at this point. I just have to try and get through this. I try to take my mind off of it by looking around. I've never actually gotten to see most of the hall leading to my cell. I pass the first two cells and take a peek inside of them. They both look similar to each other, but they're definitely different compared to the one I was put in. They each have a window with bars on it, and both cells are very small. At least half the size of my own. There's also no bed, or anything else for that matter. Each cell is completely empty aside from the shackles hanging from the brick wall. I hear Lyle's footsteps approaching from behind me.
I really did put you in the good cell, you know.
I know. The narration already did that. I wish you didn't have to put me in the cell at all.
Me too.
Good talk. We continue walking, his helmet underneath his arm, as his other arm is draped over my back, his paw rubbing my shoulder. The chains hanging from my wrists clink together lightly in each step. The chains hanging from my wrists clink together lightly with each step as we make our way up the stairs. How many dungeons are there?
Most people only know about the first 2 levels. You were placed on the first level. It's a series of cells that were built as part of the castle's foundation.
That's why each of them has a window?
Yes. Well, some of them do.
I feel like y'all should be talking game plan right now and not...
Yeah, this really, everything about this so far is like trial, thing about to happen, climax of the story.
It all comes down to this, and it's like maybe focus a little bit right now.
Lyle, can you give me my pants? It's like, yeah, very cute.
It feels a little
The toad ain't there.
Yeah, well, it's kind of kill your darlings moment where it's like there's a temptation when you do the world building that you want to surface all of the world you built, but sometimes if it doesn't fit anywhere and none of the characters need to say or know it, then you kind of just never need to say it, and it's like a fun thing you can say in your Tumblr AMA about the game later, but like yeah, I totally built, yeah, here's all my fun world building and all my OC trivia, but like if it doesn't like fit the moment ever in the story, then maybe it never just comes up. Because trying to fit it in somewhere always means that you're interrupting something to bring it up, and right now you were like, they have such a narrow window to have any kind of game plan, and they should definitely be talking about anything they happen to know that might help the trial.
One of my favorite like trivia bits about the mangaka for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is that he has like dozens of pages of like characterizations for his characters that like never actually make it into the manga, because the point of them having those characteristics isn't for you to see them, it's for them to shape the character to what you do see.
Yeah. And it's like when you finish the, like, I know in B-Stars, whenever you finish the volume, there's like bonus pages at the end that are like, here's a silly little bonus comic that's written vertically, or here's a page where I explain how they put clothes on characters with antlers. They have stretchy fabric. That's a stupid answer. But it's like, there's her OC's answer. In this case, it's particularly weird just because I'm like, this whole like third or half of the story has been about trying to solve a murder, and the 2 characters that are the most on the same team are intentionally separated so they can't compare notes and actually talk about it much. So like here's very much the moment like, okay, what do we know? What is anything that we might have missed because we don't have all the information that the other might have? Like this is like the chance to potentially glean some kind of insight, and even though as the author you might know that they won't have like come into an answer, it's like from their perspective like this is their one chance to find anything that they've missed, basically. We're now in the main part of the castle, and it's honestly a breath of fresh air. We pass a few people going about their busyness. They don't pay us any mind, aside from the few that stare at us as we pass.
When the castle was being built, they were actually being used as rooms for the workers. Although they weren't locked in them like you were. They were basically used like barracks. But the plans for them to be the dungeons had been decided in the initial schematics.
How do you know that part?
The schematics.
You saw the schematics? Aren't you like 20? We come across a fork in the hallway, but instead of going down the corridor that leads to the throne room, we turn left. I don't get the random capitalization still. The voices of people ahead start to fade away as we pace down the other hall. Isn't the throne room that way?
We won't be going through the main entrance.
Oh, that's actually a relief. I'd prefer not to be sneered at walking up the aisle. Anyways, what about the second level?
The second level is meant for more permanent stays. It's underneath the castle's foundation, embedded deep within the cliffside.
He was literally like, sorry to interrupt the plot for 2 sentences, but back to the go on. Continue with your world building. I'm like, huh.
The heat from the hot springs can really be felt down there, and you never see the light of day. You don't want to be put down there, and honestly, I'd do anything in my power to stop that from happening. It's horrible down there.
Hearing all this causes goosebumps to form on my arms.
Thankfully, they don't get used often.
Are there more levels? He doesn't answer right away, not until we turn down a very narrow hall. There's 2 castle guards standing by a door at the end of the hall. They're both cats, out of earshot and talking with each other.
There's one more level, but it hasn't been used in ages. And it definitely won't be used for you.
We get closer to the end of the hall, and he stops and takes his arm off my shoulders, turning to me.
Okay, the trial will be starting soon, so I just want to go over everything with you. Okay.
Now that we're by these guards.
I'm sure you've been thinking about it as long as you've been put in those cells, so you're more than prepared.
Somewhat.
But I think we should still go over some of it.
Okay.
There will be a jury consisting of high nobility. Okay, we're going to talk about the legal proceedings.
Maybe I was being a little too literal when I said I wanted to find out about the judiciary process.
I'm just like, you're more than prepared. And I'm like, he's not prepared until he is exonerated or knows how to be. He's specifically underprepared because he does not have an out.
I don't know what y'all do.
This is terrifying.
Your executor came down the other day and was surprised that I'm surprised to see him.
And then he never came back.
You may recognize some of them.
From that dreaded party? The one time I went outside?
Hey! You got to dance with Captain Lyle Reed of the Royal Guard.
Lyle,
Not now.
Lyle, that was not the highlight. That's not the headline of that particular party. And it was kind of your fault.
Was it really all bad?
Yes, Lyle, I learned about racism that day. And then we fucked. Weird day. Learned about racism, had sex, framed for murder, all in 3 hours. I shoot a look at him in a deadpan manner.
Only kidding.
I know. Trust me, I wish I could block out all the bad stuff from that night.
Me too.
A real checkered night in like the almost literal interpretation of the figurative sense.
Anyways, there's going to be 7 people on this jury, including Elizabeth. After everything is said and done, they will give their verdicts. Once all of the votes have been read, the king will give his verdict and his word is final. Very rarely does it differ from what the jury believes, though.
So it's a fake jury, and he can just give the answer no matter what?
Yep.
That seems like
would never do that.
That seems like a problem. That seems like a bit of a problem given what the jury, what the trial is about and who I suspect may be involved. Even if they all vote me innocent, I doubt Adrius would agree.
You never know.
Well,
We'll just have to see. Honestly, I don't know what he'll decide.
what else do you know for sure? He thinks for a moment, fiddling with the plume of his helmet.
Each person, even remotely involved in what happened, will testify. They will either testify against you or for you. Or they may even do both, depending on the information they give.
That's very different from how it's done in Erin.
I'll be going first since I made the arrest. Also, another thing in our favor is the fact that Bjorn is currently unable to testify.
He reaches around and grips the handle of his sword confidently.
And Adrius isn't too keen on delaying the trial.
Lyle talks about Bjorn not testifying the same way that, like missions in GTA 3 talk about trials. Like you're silencing witnesses. Who will testify in his place?
Instead, Finn will testify in place of him, detailing the events and how he saw them. Finn is a good man. He'll most definitely tell the truth. They will also have your account of what happened along with mine. As long as there's no contradictions, the jury will accept it.
That could either be good or bad for me, depending on what Finn saw.
Yes. Like usual, everything seems a bit unfortunate.
Yes, that seems to be an ongoing theme. Is there anything else you might be able to tell me?
That's all I really know. I'm also not sure what the punishment will be.
I can think of a few things. He lets out a sigh, his breath tremulously exiting his lungs.
Oh.
Lyle, you know more than I do what happens to people guilty of such crimes.
No, I won't let it happen.
I reach up and take his face in my hands. Yes, you will.
Richter, what are you doing? No, I'll never.
I don't know what he's... I'm not sure what he's going for.
What is the vibe right now? I'm so...
Like, if you get convicted of this crime falsely, which we know it's false unless we're doing some...
You will let me die, Lyle. Lyle, let me die.
Throw your life away for me.
Like, the whole, like... holding them and being like, you'll do your duty, is like when the person is like at risk of losing their life or something bad happening unrelated to that duty, but the duty is specifically to the person that is wrongly executing him. So at that point, I don't think his duty really, his sense of honor really means much anymore if it's specifically no longer a person worth being loyal to. So it's a weird thing to reaffirm right now. No, listen to me. You're going to do everything in your power to prove my innocence, and I'll do the same. And if it's all for naught and I'm thrown in a cell, we'll continue to fight the odds. But if the worst happens, you're to do nothing. I can't stand the thought of roping you into a punishment you don't deserve.
You don't deserve it either.
I can feel my eyes beginning to water. That's not the point. It's definitely the point. I say this in a hushed whisper. Whoops. It's not the point. Oh, that's sweet. How does it make me whisper? Testifying for me is already putting you in a dangerous spot. I don't want you dying on my behalf. Tears begin to form at the corners of his eyes, and he looks down at the ground. His breathing is heavy, and his tail is tucked between his legs. I mean, if Richter is going to be executed, they should absolutely... He should absolutely try to break him out of prison and then just fucking run for it, because why would you stay here at that point? Like,
yeah.
It is too much of a contradiction of your entire life and everything that you value to continue working here as a knight. At that point, you do
he was
just...
loyal to Raynar, so...
Yeah, like, your king is gone, and they're specifically wrongly executing the person you care about most in the world. Who cares about your fucking cape at that point? Like, you take off to some other country and find a new life, because this one is over. So, and it's better to realize that before Richter is dead than after. Richter's just silly boy. Let's contemplate the horrible scenario where I'm sentenced to death. You're going to do nothing to stop it from happening. My eyes are welling with tears and my heart is racing. I can feel a headache coming on. Afterwards, you will mourn and weep, as I know you will, because you are kind, you are good and kind. And when the mourning is done, you will move on. You will find someone else who will love and treasure you as I do. And I know you'll try and try to make things work, because that's what you've done since the moment I've met you.
You ask me to be reasonable, but it won't make things better. I'll be loyal to you until the day I die.
Would that be the same loyalty as what you've shown this kingdom? Your loyalty to Lyre has tied you down and made you its prisoner. Richter?
Wait, yeah,
I don't understand.
What is the point we're making?
We're directly contradicting. You're agreeing with me now, which is weird because he's not arguing that he's more loyal to the country than
yeah,
to
like
you.
if Richter was continuing
What?
the thought, he should be arguing why it's important that he continue to be a knight and like this is his calling or something. But
you are a knight, a servant. I will not have you make the same pledge to me. Oh, that's stupid. Wait, no. Richter, what are you saying? His breathing relaxes, and I can tell he's thinking of a way to reply. It's like, what? He's pledging loyalty to you out of love. That's not servitude. That's not, like, objectification or anything. And him doing so is him specifically breaking his promise to Lyre, which means that he's not being a servant to anyone, really, because he's specifically willing to actually do what's right and not just, like, blindly step in line. Richter?
it's also because there's a line that I think is like said a number of times by a couple characters. Kadaj in particular, I know it says it, where I think he says like my loyalty is like to the kingdom of or the kingdom or so, the triumvirate or whatever it is. The like basically saying like I am not loyal to you, Adrius. I am loyal to the piece of the entire kingdom.
Loyalty might be the theme of the overall story, given that it's like, yeah, like Kadaj looks at the camera directly and says it basically before the Red Wedding happens, and it's coming up here again. But I'm like, Richter's stance on it is very strange. His breathing relaxes, and I can tell he's thinking of a way to reply. The bells also begin to ring again.
I made that pledge when King Raynar asked it of me. I made that promise.
He hangs his head low, his muzzle almost buried in the fluff of his neck. Lyle, I love you. For most of my life, I've never even known for sure what love was, but now that it has ripped into my soul, I can feel it. And I know that you love me too. And as you've told me before, I've made a great impact in your life, but if the worst should happen, don't let your loyalty to me chain you down as well.
Don't.
It's weird because I just don't get the sense that his loyalty to Raynar ever limited him particularly. It just gave him opportunities, and he was doing it because he specifically wanted to. And so it's just him doing it also with Richter because that's who's left in his life. Because if you're loyal to me, you'll only be joining me in my grave.
Please don't.
But if you love me, you'll let me go.
Richter. Even if it means tarnishing my own name more than I already have, I will stop at nothing to prove your innocence.
I can see the pain in his eyes, and I know this is a hard topic for him. But it needs to be brought up. I know you will. It's in your nature. He takes his arm to his face and wipes the tears from his eyes. After he does that, he bends down and wipes the tears from my eyes with his paws. The rough pads gently brush against my eyelids, and I don't want to think about the rough paw pad texture combined with eyeballs. The cradle my face in his paw, its warmth comforting. We stand there for a few minutes, the air heavy with the weight of all that's happened. One of the castle guards approaches us, their green cloak swishing with their tail. The other guard walks through the door to the other side. A commotion can be heard as he slips through.
The read.
Lyle takes me from his embrace and turns to them.
Yes.
They're ready for the accused to be brought out soon.
He glances at me with his cat-like eyes. What? Interesting to say cat. They're just literally cats. The guards are both literally cats, so I don't know what's cat-like about their eyes.
Usually how I think that
Lately, everyone either avoids looking at me or can't take their eyes off me. He turns to me, a confident look covering his obvious worry.
Are you ready?
Doesn't matter.
We did not talk about the piece of evidence that he found a single time. I get that
No.
Richter probably can't lay down the truth about like so there's this god that's talking to me, but like there was very little in the way of progress in the entire investigation arc, but there was one thing, and we're not going to talk about it. So
let's
yeah,
let a sigh.
I guess not.
Lyle takes my hand, and we walk to the door at the end of the hall.
When the doors open, walk through and you should find your place before the throne.
We make it to the door and stand in front of it. Lyle leans against the wall, resting the side of his head up against one of the bricks. I stand across from the door, staring through the crack in the door. I can hear the faintest noise of chatter coming from the other side. My skin is crawling, and it begins to itch. I start to feel hot, and the taste of my own spit begins to become more noticeable. Taste, specifically, huh? Reaching behind my head, the chains ringing together and resting on my chest. I pull my hair out of my face. Resting on your chest. Pulling out of your... Okay.
Behind
You're
my
reaching
head.
behind my head.
Wait, the chains ring together and rest.
It's that he's got his wrists
They're
are
so-
handcuffed together with long chains. He's putting his long hair back, but in order to do that, the chains are going to kind of like run up against his chest.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be able to move.
Yeah, what's
That's
hitting
kind of
me...
the point of chains.
Yeah, what's
is
hitting
that
me
he
is I'm
can't-
like, this is a really long shackle, apparently, if it's like...
Yeah, that's how I was thinking.
If the chain is like gently draping over his chest in front of his neck as he reaches his hands through his hair behind his head to pull it back, I'm like, huh. that's almost useless as far as chains go, besides just to...
It's like a weapon at that point.
Yeah, you're basically just visually expressing the idea that he's a prisoner to outsiders, but not actually restricting his movement in any way.
That would be rude.
Unless he very specifically needs to, like, windmill his arms or something like that. Lyle continues to rest against the wall, silent and calm. He is most likely thinking, so I decide to leave him to it, as I don't want to disturb his thoughts at a time like this. I should be concentrating as well. I close my eyes and try once again to trigger a vision of that night. Nothing happens. I open them again and my body shivers slightly. For some reason I feel as if several people were all watching me. There was something else though. A comforting hand on my shoulder. The feeling goes away, and I wonder if I imagined it. With the way things have gone lately, I doubt it. I brush it off and instead try to have a different vision. Something easier, just to make sure I didn't lose the ability to altogether. I think it's the other altogether, right? Yeah. That familiar experience of losing all the feeling around me only for it to come back overtakes me once again. My feet feel as if they hit the ground very hard, sending a shock through my body. The ground, however, is soft. Whoever this is, they're looking down at the ground, leaning against something hard. It's most likely a tree. I can see the spots of light being cast between the leaves and onto the ground beneath their feet. Those are Lyle's feet. I know for sure that they are his. This fur is the same color and everything. As I realize this, I start to notice everything else. The fluff around his neck, and the swaying tail above his lower back.
We've done this before, haven't we?
Before as in like having flashbacks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, specifically as Lyle.
I don't think we've been in Lyle's perspective. We were in Adrius, and then we were in like his father. I think we've basically been through all of it. We weren't Adrius before we were his mother.
We saw
So we've
Lyle,
been through the king and the queen.
Yeah, we saw Lyle as the father.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm just stuck on the swaying tail above his lower back. Where does the tail start? That's like, I don't.
Don't think about it.
The tailbone is at the bottom of the lower back. It's the lowest back. It's the bottom of the spine, basically.
Scientists are undecided as to where the tail goes on the Lyle.
The scientists are just a bunch of toddlers blindfolded trying to pin the tail on the Lyle. An insane visual. Only a few seconds into the vision, I hear a soft voice from behind me.
You mean it?
Of course.
You promise?
Richter.
I thought that he couldn't be interrupted because he was frozen in time.
I've given up on figuring out that.
I don't.
A very short.
Yeah. Is it? We talked about this before, but I was like, is it only the kaleidoscope vision that's frozen in time, and all the other visions are not frozen? No, but he's definitely done those to avoid a social interaction that was coming down the hallway before. I thought.
Yeah, that was.
Lyle's slightly shaking me by the shoulders as I come out of the vision. He has his helmet on, his ears standing tall.
Come on, we have to go.
I look ahead and see that the door has been opened, the castle guard standing on the other side. He takes my hand and leads me through the door, the light from the throne room blinding at first. I don't think you would ever capitalize throne, but at the very least you'd capitalize throne and room, right? Yeah. Right? I'm not crazy.
No, and like earlier,
the more it comes up, the more I'm
fixating.
Yeah, the more it comes up, the more I'm fixating on the really random capitalization of like certain nouns and sometimes not nouns, and I'm like, no,